on, Jeremy. Gotta be careful, I almost got you, buddy. Colin Culkin. Baby Joseph Stalin.
Du erinnerst dich an mich.
Let run, Jeremy, go!
Nein, er gehört mir. Lass dein M45 fallen oder er stirbt gleich jetzt.
Okay, that's fine. It's oddly specific. Just don't hurt him. I'll drop the gun.
Mach's jetzt. Jetzt werde ich dich in meinem Zorn niederstrecken. Dich und deinen... Unmöglich.
Impossible or not, you're still gonna get lead, you piece of shit! Today on Garand, the HK G36, a very interesting rifle and one that has served in the German military for a very long time at this point. Beyond its service with the German military, it has served the world over. Commonly used in Hollywood as a bad guy's gun, it is certainly iconic. Today we're going to be talking about it, how it holds up, what we think about it. Hope you guys will join us as today we talk about the HK G36. Now, before we get into it, we have to do what we always do. We have to thank the biggest sponsor of the channel. The biggest sponsor of this channel is, of course, the Sonoran Desert Institute. A big thank you to them. If you're looking to get your start in gunsmithing, they are the people to go with, and we can't thank them enough for their support of this channel. And of course, we can't forget Primary Arms, making awesome optics at a great price. They are our second biggest supporter, and thank you to them. Primary Arms, thank you very much. Now, Micah, what can we not forget before we go on?
Two things. Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon.
Because it's bussin'.
Micah will post pictures I don't want posted, and I will be answering questions. And of course, Onward Research, we are making awesome gear. Go and check it out. Many great things coming from there. But ladies and gentlemen, my often forgotten, but most certainly not by me, carry handle optics on the G36. I do really want you to be forgotten. Welcome to the channel. This is a very interesting rifle. In many ways, one of my favorites. I definitely fell in love with the HK G36 in playing video games, to be honest. Just like anybody else, Call of Duty and all these games, all this media made me kind of fall in love with the look. Now, it wasn't until much later that I was actually able to get some time on the G36. And so this is certainly a pleasure. Now, up until today, I've mostly shot on the full-length variant and on the HK G36C. Now, this particular variant is a 12.5-inch barrel. It is a short-stroke gas piston system. It does feed from a detachable box magazine that we have right here. It can fit many different things in there, such as drums, and we'll be talking about those and the different accessories as we go and move forward and talk about this weapon as a whole. At this point on the G36 family of rifles, I have around 15,000 rounds. In addition to that, I've spent a lot of time working with the German military, talking to those guys, picking their brains. So I've been able to figure out what works for them, what doesn't. I'm not as experienced with the G36 as a German soldier would be, but I have quite a lot of time and rounds on this particular rifle. So with those things being said, let's go ahead and let's talk about it. Let's see what works. Now, we do have a G36K right here, which is the shorter variant, but we're going to be in general talking about the G36 as a service rifle. On the service rifles, typically in use with the German military, you have about an 18.9-inch barrel. Within the special operations world, they of course have the C model and the K model. The K model being a favorite, the 12.5-inch barrel is excellent with 5.56, and that's where we're going to go ahead and start. Now, the one thing you can say about the G36 when it comes to muzzle devices, which is where we're going to start, is how good of an idea it was to start with a 4-prong or a 3-prong muzzle device. So you compare this to, like, say, the M16 family of rifles with the birdcage flash hider, and there's a lot of things that just aren't working well. The 3-prong, the 4-prong series, they really perform about the same, do an extremely good job at killing flash. So I really have a lot of good things to say about the muzzle device that is being used on these rifles. Now, on the G36C, it is a little bit short, but here on the actual service rifles, the 12.5 and the G36E, they are this length right here, and they work phenomenally. Now, when it comes to the barrels, we're talking about the best part of the G36. There is some dark Teutonic magic that occurs at the HK factory where the cold hammer forged barrels are just made of exceptional quality, and this has been known for some time. So when we talk about a barrel in use in a service weapon, the barrels on these G36s are excellent. And there's been a lot of talk about as the rifles heat up due to the fact that it's mostly polymer, that we begin to have a wandering zero. In fact, many have said that after about 2 magazines, you're not going to be able to hit targets about past 100 to 200. That's never been the case from what I've seen. I believe that a lot of those, I don't know if you'd say rumors went around, were primarily due to ammo. But I will say that in my experience with the G36 and from talking to the soldiers, they've had nothing but good things to say about the accuracy that the G36 has provided them. And that's also within firefights as well. One thing that we have to say about barrels is, of course, service life. The service life on the cold hammer forged barrels from HK is just phenomenal. From there, we're going to move up to the gas system. So we have a short stroke gas operated system. If you're used to firing an AR, the G36 is going to be a little bit more snappy. And that's due to the fact that it's using a short stroke system. That being said, you do have far less ingress of carbon and fouling in general on the bolt carrier and the bolt carrier system. So there's always going to be an argument about which is best. And in fact, a variant of the G36 was pitched to the United States military as a possible replacement for the M4 for a long time, that being the XM8. However, that never really panned out. To me, it ends up kind of all being a wash as long as you're taking care of your weapon, because no matter what, you should be caring for your rifle at the end of the day. But certainly it does make for a more compact weapon in the fact that due to the short stroke gas piston system, we can of course fold up the buttstock. There are a lot of iconic things about the G36. Probably one of the most iconic to me is going to be the optics. It's a very interesting system that was very quickly dated, but we're still going to talk about it. So at the top, we do have a reflex optic, and right below it, we do have a 3-power optic. They feel incredibly dated right now. So I know from the guys in the German military who are still using this older system, it is a little bit frustrating. So let's take a moment to talk about them and some of the frustrations that I have with this particular system. Now, Micah struggled for hours to get the shot through the optic, so we're certainly going to pop that up right now. But the top-mounted reflex sight is battery-powered as well as fiber optic. You can see we have this little slider right here to adjust the brightness level. The brightness level is very dim, even when it's all the way up. I found this to be a semi-usable sight. It is not fun at all. And the worst part about this, I believe, is the zero. There's no audible clicks. It simply turns, and I understand that you can train to this, but compared to like the click system where you know precisely, your precise measurements, I do find the kind of more mushy-gushy, just mush as you turn it from, low to high or from left to right, to be extremely aggravating when you're trying to get a very precise zero. And that also goes for the 3-power as well. And to be clear, there are hash marks that are telling you the distance that you're turning it, but man, I really wish they had clicks on it. So the reflex sight, usable. I will say that it is a very comfortable head position when you are bringing up the weapon. It's very comparable to a lot of the higher mounted optics that we're all using nowadays. So the Germans are certainly forward thinking with that. But when it comes to our 3-power optic, it's just, you have to really choke up on it. Like if you guys thought an ACOG was bad, the good thing about the ACOG is that once you get up on it, you have a huge field of view. The field of view through this 3-power optic is just tiny, and it is a precise weapon, and it has an awesome ranging reticle on it. I will say that the reticle and everything is good on it. It is good clarity. It's just by the time this came out, you were kind of outdated already compared to a lot of the optics that were already on the market. And I know I'm doing a lot of complaining, and I don't mean to do that, because this is of course all changeable. You can change out this carry handle for a railed one, for one of the CAC mounts, and you can easily put what optic you want on it. I'm simply speaking to what a lot of German soldiers end up using, and this is certainly a very dated system, especially right now. So if you're still using this, I'm so sorry. There are way better optics out there. From the optics, we're going to talk about charging handle. So charging handle is very interesting. It's taking a little bit of getting used to, but once you kind of get the hang of it, it is a very intuitive system. You can run into an issue, especially when you get the carry handle rails that are really low to the system, about reaching in and getting onto that charging handle. That's the only issue I've run into. And as you can see, when you rotate it to the side and you let go, it of course springs back to position. You can lock that in place. If you push it in, it will stay in that position. And then once that inertia carries it forward, it will pop out of that position. It is very easy to manipulate. If you need to clear your stoppages, it is a fairly simple affair due to the fairly forward-thinking control scheme on the G36. So for example, to lock it back, you're simply gonna pull it to the rear, and then within the trigger guard right here, you have this nice bolt stop, and you can simply lock the bolt to the rear. So as far as clearing your malfunctions, that is a very simple affair. Now from here, we're kind of coming down to our controls. So a couple things to note. First off, the magazine release is a paddle magazine release. For a lot of Americans out there, that's gonna be very unfamiliar. It is an easy system to get the hang of. The biggest complaint I have when it comes to the G36 is the magazines. There's something about Europeans where they need to have these mag couplers just built into their magazines. I don't know what it is with Europeans and linking mags together, but I don't find it to be a very efficient way of carrying magazines, but they certainly love it. So the problem with it is that it just really takes up a lot of space in your magazine pouches. So you need to have larger magazine pouches. It's constantly catching on shit. It's just not my favorite. They do make G36 magazines that don't have the mag coupler. So specifically Magpul makes some, as well as a couple different German companies. But as far as the ones that you're getting with the G36, definitely subpar simply due to those mag couplings. The magazines themselves are very reliable, but there are a lot of improvements that can be made and have been made by aftermarket companies. On more modern G36s, you do have a little lever that comes down right here, and that is a bolt release that you can press down. On these older models, of course, once you reload and get that magazine in, you need to reach up, grab that charging handle, and release it. So it's definitely a little bit more efficient on those newer models, as a quick note. From there, we have the fire selector on the G36. We do have a safe position, we have a single, and then of course we have select. It's fairly easy. It's not as bad as the MP5 was, because the levers are a little bit longer. So I will give them props there, and the angle on the grip was certainly a little bit better than what we had on the M16 around the time that this was released. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna ghost that trigger together. So putting it into first position right there, we have a little bit of mush. And that first wall is about 2 millimeters. Get that wall, about a 7-8 pound pull off the reset. Not bad, about a 7 pound pull or so. So not a terrible trigger. We'll go ahead and we'll try that in the next position. Okay, same amount of mush. Same trigger pull, maybe a little bit lighter. And then no reset, of course, for whatever reason. From here, we do have the stock design. Stock design is very forward thinking in my opinion. So when you press that in, you can release it and then it locks forward. You can still fire the weapon when the stock is completely folded, and you can give it a hit and that will open back up. Lots of stocks have been made that don't do well, and I do find the G36 stock to be very comfy. It feels like I'm at home. So we've kind of finished everything up on the G36. The question is, what is it like to shoot? The G36 is a soft recoil impulse, and it has a very slow rate of fire of around 750. So this is extremely controllable. You compare this to like the M4 that has like 900 to 950, or you put a suppressor on there even higher. And this is a much more manageable weapon when we're talking about that select fire capability. And especially when we talk about that throw. On the M4, the M16, for example, to get over to that select fire mode, you have to do a full 180. Compared to this, where you have about a 20 to 30 degree throw between the different modes, it's much more simple to get to that mode that you need. While as with the M4, it very much feels like it's the forbidden selector throw. So in every way, I do find the G36 to be a very pleasant, a very well-made service rifle. There are certainly some ergonomic things that are holding it back, such as, I believe, the magazines, the optic placement, especially as it was issued out, and for the stock, the fact that it's not adjustable. So as body armor became more and more prevalent, the need for an adjustable stock was, of course, made to be known. And there are stocks that are now adjustable that look very good. I have a review on a G36C that is using an adjustable stock. So those kind of changes have already come about, but you really haven't seen them in the wide German military as much. But overall, we can definitely say that the G36 is a very reliable weapon, is a very accurate weapon. And overall, like despite everything that's kind of going against it, I end up really liking the G36. Micah, I know this is like one of the few guns you've actually fired that we've reviewed.
Yeah, because it's cool. I like how controllable it is.
And again, Micah doesn't actually shoot any of the guns that we review because he's just not interested. But about halfway through filming, he was like, can I actually shoot this? So it means he likes it. It means he likes it.
I can have a little G36.
As a treat. So here's the thing. As cool as this rifle is, if you don't have training, it's not going to matter. So get out there, get training, get good with your weapons. That is going to be what makes the difference between life and death. Tons of great companies out there. Go and check them out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. We've got nothing else for you. Final thing for you guys, dad advice. Dad advice. We're getting a lot of questions on the Patreon, so we're going to answer it. Should you go into debt for gear? No. Don't wreck yourself financially and then count on the collapse of a nation to save you from your financial ruin. It probably won't happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen. Probably not. But yeah, be smart with your finances. That can have a very severe, very real impact on your family, as a quick note.